Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to give you your daily dose of Dismal Diamond. Actually, we haven't been covering the Diamond debacle that often because I'm going to be completely honest. Nobody cares about comic book videos. They really don't. They don't even care that the comic book industry is like burning down in real time. They have zero interest in it, the general public. So, but we're going to talk about what's going on. Basically, a lot of publishers are coming out and saying that Diamond, which is or was or is the largest comic book distributor, old Diamond went bankrupt. New Diamond, which is a Sparkle Pop or whatever, came in, bought the business, bought the debt, whatever, and they're apparently still selling books but not paying people. Old Diamond, though, has a ton of comics, graphic novels, and toys from a bunch of different publishers in their warehouses, and they're like selling it out the back door. They want to sell it out the back door to discount chains or whoever's willing to buy it. Ollie's to pay off their debt to Chase Bank.
But so they don't own it. But they don't own it.
That's so yeah. So Diamond, how it works is, I mean, sometimes Diamond will buy the stock, but they also sell on consignment. This would kind of be like, I guess it reminds me of like the storage wars, right? Where you like buy the storage shed and you get all the contents and then you can do with it whatever you want to. In this case, though, they don't really have the legal right to do it, but they kind of sort of do because apparently there's some paperwork that you had to fill out that the publishers didn't fill out.
Nobody filled out. 120 some vendors and no one knew to fill it out.
Yeah. So, we're going to do a quicker video. We actually record a longer version of it. And look, it's complicated. The whole situation is incredibly complicated. We've got, multiple entities here. We had people that wanted to buy Diamond, then they backed out because it turned out that Diamond lied about the relationship they had with the Wizards of the Coast to sell magic cards. And that's a huge part of the business. And it's basically just scummy people and scummier people, a shitty business and a shittier business. And all these comic shops, I guess my point in all this is that we said there was going to be a long tail to the Diamond bankruptcy. People thought that things were going to go back to normal. They're never going to go back to normal, right? Mm-hmm. The direct market, as we've known it, is effectively over. And there are people are like, no, Marvel and DC are selling comics and they're fine. I'm like, yes, they are. Marvel and DC are propped up by major corporations. They're selling comics. Even if the direct market imploded tomorrow, they'd still sell books through Amazon.
They don't sell anywhere near as many as they used to.
No, not as many as they used to. And the direct market's still a huge driver of revenue.
They're still getting their asses kicked by manga. Sorry.
They are. And I do believe, I'm 100%. I believe the day is coming very soon where it will not make sense to even publish floppy comics.
They get their asses kicked by Scholastic graphic novels, for pity's sakes.
Yeah. So we're gonna take a look at this. We're gonna take a look at Fantagraphics. They were kind of the first, I think, to sound the alarm bells. Are like, yeah, they've got a whole bunch of our inventory and they're gonna sell it out the back door, and they have a right to do that. Not every publisher has gone public with it, but it's pretty bad. And here's the thing: like these publishers, the margins that most of them operate on, they can't afford to miss a beat. They can't afford to miss a month. And a lot of them are already trying to get money from old Diamond because of the Chapter 11 filing. They have to get in line to get money, and they may never see the money from, a couple months back for God knows how long that Diamond wasn't paying them. But now they're not getting paid by New Diamond either. Nobody's communicating. I mean, the whole thing's a freaking mess. It's a disaster. So let's talk about it, because that's the only time anybody, I'm going to be honest, when the comic book industry is burning down, that is the only time anybody watches any damn comic book videos anymore.
Pretty much.
Isn't that sad?
I'm not surprised. People just don't care because it's not as important as some people try to make it out to be.
Yeah, pretty much. Mostly
Sadly.
Pros and people working at smaller publishers or whatever. So let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. You'll get a woohoo if you do.
Woohoo.
Speaking of assholes, since we're talking about Diamond, both Diamonds, I guess, orcs are also assholes, and you can go out to BackerKit, badorcs.com, back these pins. You got a couple days yet to do so. Appreciate the support very much. It should be a pretty lightweight campaign. There's not a whole lot of stuff, just pins and like hats, and we got some other stuff out there you can check out. So check it out on BackerKit at badorcs.com. So yeah, this is some bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine? I mean, this is like, yeah. So some publishers send inventory to Diamond to hold it, to warehouse it, so they can replenish stock at comic shops quickly. But Diamond doesn't actually own that stuff. It's not theirs.
Yeah, so it's basically they let them keep it there, so if they have to fill orders, they can fill the orders fast. Otherwise, they have to wait for the publisher to ship it to them and them to ship it to the stores, and by then it's late. So they streamline the process and make sure that the comics get to the stores and get to you quicker. These places are nice enough to allow them to store them there. And then they send back, like they get back what they don't sell, and then they, get paid what they do sell, and then get back what they don't. Well, apparently they have a bunch of stuff in there. It got locked down because of bankruptcy proceedings. And now, even though they know it's not theirs, they're going to try to sell it to like a place like Ollie's or something like that for, ridiculously low prices to scrape back as much money as they can to pay off their debt. And these are the same companies that I know that they paid to begin with. Like they owe them money before the bankruptcy, and now after the bankruptcy stuff, they still owe them that money. And now they're stealing their books too. Is what they're alleging.
Yeah, so it's a mess, and apparently they believe they have the right to do this because there was some paperwork that wasn't filled out, which is this uniform commercial code financing statement. Basically, they didn't fill that out. They were never told they had to fill that out.
And how many people does this impact? 120? How many
128 publishers.
128 publishers. Okay, think about this. If this was on the up and up, and it was they didn't fill this one paper out. Of 128 companies, including Marvel and DC, owned by like Warner and Disney and everything else, wouldn't you think, given Disney's lawyers, wouldn't you think at least one of them would have known to fill the paperwork out? The fact that nobody did tells me that this is scammy as shit, because at least one of them would have known to do that, but none of them did, and they get to keep everything? Yeah. That's a little weird, don't you think?
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, this is just desperate. I mean, the comic book industry, like, it's just a joke. I mean, like no other industry could run this way. No other industry could run this way. And look, the red flags were there during the pandemic again when, Steve Geppi unilaterally decided he wanted to shut down the comic book industry by turning off Diamond for a couple months, and shops went out and publishers went out, and everybody's supposed to get on board with that. And they're like, yeah, we got to sell books. So that opened up the door for Marvel and DC to find workarounds. And other people eventually, went in with those workarounds too, like Lunar and Penguin Random House, like actual real companies. Penguin Random House, which is owed like $1 million from Diamond anyway. But yeah, I mean, this is insane. Look at this list of publishers that are owed, or that their stuff is just
none of them knew to fill this paperwork out that was supposed to be that they filled that out, they got their stuff back, and yet none of them knew about it. Now, that's what strikes me as odd, because if like a few people filled it out, then you could argue, okay, well, at least they were alerted or they knew. But when none of them, not a single one, fills out their paperwork, this one paper, says to me that they didn't even tell them they had to fill it out, which they should have been obligated to do so. And they're going to need to go and get like some kind of injunction or something against them. If they don't do something fast, they're going to sell this stuff out before you can do anything, and then you'll never get it back for sure.
Yeah, so Fantagraphics is not happy, and Fantagraphics, if I remember correctly, there was a live stream on some guys, I forget the guy's name, was Dan Shaheen, I think his name. I don't know. He was a comic book guy. He had a comic book channel, and I think it was like Fantagraphics and Mike Richardson from Dark Horse and Steve Geppi. They were doing this thing talking about, shutting down the comic book industry and weathering the storm and all that. And Geppi kind of set himself up as a bank too. But, these guys have a good, or had a good relationship, I think, with Diamond, and now they're like, yeah, Diamond just effed us over big time, and don't buy books through Diamond. This is what came out of Fantagraphics. It said, effective immediately, Fantagraphics will no longer be distributed through Diamond. When Diamond declared bankruptcy in January, Fantagraphics and Diamond worked together in good faith to maintain market stability and avoid any further disruption than was necessary. While all invoices prior to the bankruptcy filing were immediately frozen and remain unpaid under Chapter 11 proceedings, and that's what happens. They basically freeze the company's debt, and then the judges decide who gets paid first and how much they get paid based on what the company has in assets. Diamond continued to act responsibly and reassured us that business would continue as usual and invoices would be paid on time, which they were up until May 16th. The day that Ad Populum took over. So that would be So when New Diamond came in, they stopped paying invoices. Since then, the company has gone silent with no payments for any books sold under new ownership. Repeated attempts to communicate with Diamond and discuss a payment schedule have been ignored. At the end of May, we suspended shipping new releases to Diamond until they caught up on their payments. This has not happened. Last week, in response to a routine request to transfer stock, Ad Populum replied, "Please be advised this order will not be fulfilled, as our legal team has instructed us to halt all product transfers and NCR requests. At this time, we apologize for the inconvenience." Do you really think this new Diamond has any chance whatsoever when the word gets out that they don't pay?
No.
Like, what the hell?
So yeah, that was in addition to the stuff that old Diamond has?
Yeah, so Diamond does not own any of Fantagraphics' inventory.
No.
Our inventory is warehoused by Diamond on consignment, and its disposition is at our discretion, not Diamond Ad Populum's. Although we have not received a ransom note, Ad Populum is now effectively holding hostage inventory that they do not own, while apparently continuing to sell the inventory and not paying us for those sales. But that's on top of Diamond, old Diamond, saying they're just going to sell all the stuff out the back door.
Yeah, so this is like a whole, I can't even imagine the stuff these people are going through. It was a cluster of epic proportions.
And if you think this isn't going to put some smaller publishers out of business, you're smoking something, right? Because it is. I mean, I know publishers have gone out, they went out of business during the pandemic because they missed like 2 or 3 months payments because the margins are so slim. Again, excluding Marvel and DC, excluding like, Image, excluding, the bigger players, right? We're not talking about them, but even apparently Dynamite is having problems with it. Boom's having problems with it. They've been laying people off. This is going to be a domino effect that's going to take out a bunch of publishers, and it's going to make a lot of people question whether or not the direct market is even worth playing in anymore. Because, why bother?
It's a mess. And I mean, you're owed money to begin with that got frozen in bankruptcy. And then Old Diamond has your stuff, and they're going to threaten to sell out the back because you didn't fill out paperwork you didn't know existed. And then New Diamond's still selling stuff, and they're not paying you.
Yeah.
I can't. I can't.
Comics have never been better, guys. Things are great. The comeback is going to be bigger than ever, bigger than the setback.
I mean, it's just, yeah.
All right. Are we going to wrap this up? Good luck, guys. Good luck getting your money. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.
For more pop culture news, views, and rants, go to news.clownfishtv.com. That's news.clownfishtv.com.